Hey guys, my name is Bryce. Today I'll be doing a video that's kind of a special one. It's of course about LEGO, but today's feature is a double feature of Star Wars featuring... Oh, that's not how I plan to have this go. Featuring K-2SO and my most favorite robot at the moment in Star Wars, K-2SO. So let's move on to my favorite droid of Rogue One. Here's a quick tour. So essentially he's running with the same mechanic as what was seen in the Skull Basher from Bionicle. So effectively, if you push on this either flat or slightly rounded button, he's able to swing his arms back and forth and kind of like, you know, punch inward or kind of slug sideways, kind of like the clotheslining scene, which I was kind of a fan of in Star Wars. Which, if you haven't seen it yet, you'll know what I'm talking about when you see it, but it's not really a spoiler, I would say. Let's see how to open it. It's funny with this; it's slightly different from the way that you open Jin's box. It's just down at the bottom here with the thumb tab, but for some reason it's got a slightly different setup. Okay, wonderful. So I guess from either end you're able to open this up. That should be enough. And let's unleash the bot here. By the way, this is sadly not sponsored too. Oh, almost lost the stickers. I know I'm very much a fan of both LEGO and Star Wars, but unfortunately these I had to get on my own dime. I'm not really getting anything from it, but I do like sharing my opinion on this. Oh, I thought it was scratched, but it's actually a huge print on it, and actually that's quite cool. So you can't get a good look at this right now, but I'll get some lights on it. You can see this super well. He's actually got white to represent that he's kind of lit from within, which I quite like, because I wasn't sure if there's going to be holes at the back of his head, but he's actually quite display friendly, and that's like a perfect print on the inside here. So back to what I was saying, unfortunately I'm not sponsored. These are kind of my own personal opinions and everything. I want to share this both from a fan's perspective as well as from a toy designer's perspective now that I'm all graduated for industrial design. So this is kind of the general parts tour here. So once again, the same thigh plates. These nice rounded shoulder pieces actually have the emblem of the Empire, which are a little bit scratched up purposefully, because if you take a look at both of them, it's an identical print, but on either side you kind of get a sense that it's a little bit asymmetrical, considering it's not entirely even between the two of them. Again, massive thigh plates, a black back piece, which is nice, and then kind of like the other larger pieces are like these parts that were from originally actually Hero Factory, which have kind of made it come back, like this sort of talons or kind of claw pieces essentially. And then the stickers, which I'll zoom in on a little bit for you. I imagine these are just details for his chest, but I'll confirm that once I get to building it. Back here we have a photo of the dynamic duo. We've already got one of the members finished, so hopefully we can get the other member of the photo all finished up soon, and can get him ready to fight like this. As you can kind of see, there's just a sea of tiny little black pieces, which I think is great to have these guys back. There's certainly been a bit of a departure from these in order to have them a lot more visible for kids to work with, which I can totally understand, especially from a design standpoint. Like, a lot of people take for granted, primarily kind of people in like my age group and older, seeing how the loss of like a cosmetic value happens when, you know, these red pins are highly visible and kind of, I wouldn't even say distract from the piece. They're visible and kind of an annoyance to some people. I can understand that, and certainly if you have the luxury to do without and go with black pieces instead for something that doesn't have red elements in it, go for it. But at the same time, I think there is a value to, if kids are literally getting one of these sets as like their first ever set, it's much more helpful to follow along with instructions if they can actually discern among like a sea of all these other pieces. But fortunately enough, I'm pretty seasoned, I would say, by this point. But just as like a little anecdote. We've got huge legs now. Just comparing to Jin, it's almost at her shoulder height. So this is pretty true to life for the way this came together. So it turns out we've not built the torso, but the hips, of course, and it is facing the right direction. So it actually builds quite nicely. Not only just to have more of a mechanical sort of shaping to it, but also just the angle is quite nice to deal with, having it being flexible but having a decent amount of coverage, especially around the ball and socket joints as well, which usually ends up having a bit more gaps just due to the nature of the pieces. So lo and behold, it turns out that K-2SO is actually standing on the piece I was looking for. So moral of the story is, don't panic and just keep lifting things up to see if anything's missing. So that's a relief. Now here's the fun springy part. It's actually just a hose, which I expect actually has a pretty decent longevity from the fact that I actually still own quite a few pieces that look quite a lot like this. And here he is, K-2SO. Now, what I really like about this character is both how accurate they managed to get the very unusual torso build and just insane lanky proportions of this character, right? Also the fact that his action feature is a lot of fun. You can spin him around here. It's just this one gray button that you use to do left hook, right hook, or kind of press forward like this and smash things together. So to give you a front view, left, right, and then smash together. Now that's pretty much his only way to defend himself because he has no blaster. Now I have to say, for the prints to be this detailed, the body to be pretty much well represented as possible here, aside from a bit of back coverage and everything, I'm really impressed and happy with this build. Now, unfortunately he's a little bit unbalanced, but that's also because I have a very weird table, so on most flat surfaces, this guy stands up straight and fine. I would definitely recommend this set for anybody who wants a lot of Bionicle parts, because black goes with everything, and it's got a lot of great uses for connecting ball joints together. It even has this free piece which you could take off and replace with some other plates, I imagine, and just make use of this really unique and helpful part for making unlocks. If you missed out on having the Skull Basher, now is a great time to have that same sort of fun interaction and everything. Seems a bit gappy here and there, but I can't really be mad about that, considering this, if he was kind of any more amount of pieces, he'd probably be in a slightly different pricing bracket. And of course, 4G in this case, even though it's been unusual for going from a lot of humanoid builds to a droid that is more built like an orangutan with extra long legs than any sort of human being we can recognize, they did a really good job of filling out the proportions accurately to the movie. They have a really detailed section for the head here with all the little greebling details and everything, and even a red print already put on here. That it's a very satisfying build to see in the end, and a lot of fun to make as well, if you don't mind sorting through a ton of little black pieces. And that sums up my review for K-2SO. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.